Rise from darkness, red mountain, spread your dark clouds and green vapours, birth earthquakes, shatter stones, feed the winds with fire, flay the tents of the tribes from the land, feed the burned earth with our souls. Yet never shall you have your rule over me, never shall I tremble or flinch from your power, never shall I yield my home and my hearth, and from my tears shall spring forth the flowers of grassland springs. The Dunmer people, and their chimeric ancestors, became the mortal embodiments of Boethiah's sphere. They lived by the gospels of resilience and triumph over adversity, and with the help of Azura, Boethiah and Mephala, this once small congregation of Aldmeri dissidents became a glorious race in their own right. It would be a great injustice to the race named the Dunmer to suggest that they have strayed completely away from their founding principles. For the most part, the teachings of these three Daedra are ingrained in every facet of Dunmeri life. But there is one faction among the Dark Elves, one group of nomads who were true to their traditions, even when the rest of the province became infatuated by false idols. These nomads are one with the land of Resdain, and can endure the harshest tests of the elements. And these nomads were not deterred by the wrath of Red Mountain, when it spewed its noxious fumes and ash rain upon the land. For the most part, these nomads avoid the trouble of great house politics and frivolous intellectual pursuits, adopting the simple pleasures of a natural lifestyle instead. Yet despite this, these nomads were the only ones wise enough to see through the lies of the tribunal, and have thus been dubbed the keepers of the old ways, and are lauded for their true vision by the Dunmer people. These nomads are the Ashlanders. Hey guys, it's Drew here and welcome back to FudgeMuppet. The Dunmer are a race we like to talk about on the channel, and even now there are areas of their lore yet to be explored. Lore and world building seem to be dirty words to Bethesda these days, but that wasn't always the case, and the Dunmer were given plenty of tender love and care. We've mentioned the Ashlanders a few times in our other videos, and we even have a Skyrim build named the Ashlander, but we have yet to go into detail about what makes this group of tribal wayfarers so unique and interesting. In this video, I plan to do exactly that, exploring their distinct traditions, their way of life, their cultural and religious values, but also why they command so much respect from the other inhabitants of Morrowind. May I shrink to dust in your cold wild wastes, and may my tongue speak its last hymn to your winds. I pray for the herder that whistles to his guar at play. I pray for the hunter that stalks the white walkers. I pray for the wise one that seeks under the hill, and the wife who wishes for one last touch of her dead child's hand. I will not pray for that which I've lost, when my heart springs forth from your soil, like a seed, and blossoms anew beneath tomorrow's sun. The choice for a society to live off the land, migrating freely in pursuit of fertile soil, grazing land for the livestock, and resources to forage, is a choice that is often looked down upon by those who live in populated cities, and they're generally seen as primitive or even feral. Yet were you to thrust a city dweller into the wilderness, chances are they'd flounder about hopelessly, unable to build shelter or determine what's edible. As you can gather from the hymns I recited at the top of the video and just now, collected from the wise women, the Ashlanders are not dim, and they contribute significantly to the arts. Verses like the one I recited are composed by the Ashlander warriors, champions and Ashkans, committed to memory by the wise women and transmitted down the generations. May I Shrink to Dust, from the beginning of the video, is attributed to the long-dead poet and warrior Zershishi Musmanul. With that in mind, we can preface this by saying the Ashlanders are not your run-of-the-mill tribals, out for blood and loot without rule of law. So, who are the Ashlanders? The Ashlanders have the same origins as all Dunmer, tracing their lineage back to Saint Veloth and his Chimer followers. In fact, the Ashlanders are often referred to as the Velothi, named for their ancient prophet. While most of the Dunmer reside in their cities, under the dominion of one of the 5 great houses of Morrowind, the Ashlanders have no mortal rulers, and dwell in the most inhospitable regions of the province. They're most commonly found on the island of Vardenfell, where the ecosystem has gradually become barren and desolate, constantly under threat from Red Mountain at its heart. They keep the old ways, and that means their society has changed little since the days of Saint Veloth. Their nomadic lifestyle and ancestor worship is the most pure form of Boethiah, Azura and Mephala's teachings you're going to find in Morrowind. Hasur Zain-Subani, a former Ashlander who gave up his former life to seek wealth as a merchant and thief in the Thieves' Guild, has this to say about the Ashlanders in his notes. The Ashlanders despise the soft lives and decadent worships of the settled Great House Dunmer cultures. The wastes are harsh and unforgiving, and we are a hard people, but there is a beauty and honour in our simple lives, and the snobs of the temple and great houses are fools to dismiss us as crude savages. The Ashlanders are arranged into tribes which are primarily nomadic. However, they are known for establishing semi-permanent settlements, usually in land of particular agricultural affluence. In most cases, Ashlander settlements are portable huts of hides stretched on chitin frames. These huts can be quickly dismantled and packed atop a guar when moving to new grazing and hunting grounds. The Ashkhan's hut is simply a larger, more elaborate version of a family hut. Surprisingly, the Ashlanders are not strangers to permanent settlements. The Dwemer historian and author Marabar Sul noted the following: some Ashlander tribes lived in strongholds, much like the ruined strongholds on Vardenfell today. There are even references to a stronghold of Ofrabar, somewhere between Vardenfell and Skyrim. But few strongholds outside of sparsely settled Vardenfell have survived to the present. Scholars do not agree on who built these strongholds or when, but I believe it is clear from this story and other evidence that the Ashlander tribes used these strongholds in the ancient past instead of making camps of wickwheat huts, as they do today. This then provokes the question, why would a culture voluntarily choose to abandon permanent settlements? Isn't that arguably a form of societal regression? Well, it is likely that the Ashlanders left their strongholds as a response to the growing softness in the Dunmer people. As reliance upon the great houses to provide shelter and sustenance increased among the populace, the Ashlanders might have felt a stronger urge to denounce that lifestyle. And it's hard to insult the static lifestyle of the masses from the confines of a stronghold. The great houses may never have come into fruition if it wasn't for their power-hungry Nordic neighbours. Initially, there were countless Ashlander tribes, but many of them consolidated into a few unified tribes to better defend against the human invaders. These unified tribes were the precursors to Morrowind's great houses. As a result, the Ashlander population decreased significantly, and that is why they are known for living in the most inhospitable regions of the province. It is partially a result of their value systems, Boethiah's Get Good policy. But there's no doubt that the Ashlanders would exist everywhere if it wasn't for their inevitable clash with the territories of the Great Houses. There are 4 known Ashlander tribes in Vardenfell as of the 427th year of the Third Era. However, there are others wandering the less trodden paths of Greater Resdane, including 4 as of the 582nd year of the Second Era. The known tribes from the mainland include the Kagesh, Yulaf, Veriansu, and the Mabragash. And then, on Vardenfell, there's the Ayamusa tribe, the Erebanimsun tribe, the Urshalaku tribe, and the Zainab tribe. Each of their camps can be found across the region. Ashlanders are guar herders first and foremost, and gather the rest of their resources from foraging, hunting, and fishing. They will interact with civilized Dunmer occasionally, usually in the interest of trading abundant goods like guar hides and shauk resin for information on the wider world, or items they cannot easily acquire in the wild. You'll rarely find a horse rider among the Ashlanders, for they instead choose to rely on those bipedal reptilian creatures named guars. Guars are more intelligent than horses, they are expert trackers, they can aid their masters in combat, and they are omnivores, making it incredibly efficient to keep them well fed. You'd sooner see a sandstorm in Skyrim than an Ashlander travelling without a trusty guar companion. Within the tribes, the Ashlanders have a hierarchy topped by the Ashkhan. This is typically the strongest, most capable warrior, and they are aided by one or several Gulakhans. Unlike the Ashkhan position, Gulakhans can be determined both hereditarily or by merit, and should an Ashkhan fall in battle, in poor health or in old age, a new Ashkhan is generally picked from within the ranks of the Gulakhans. Of course, the Ashlanders are more than just warriors, and there are ranks denoting members who govern the spiritual and cultural well-being of the tribe. These roles are usually filled by females, and they are known as wise women. Aside from running religious services, they provide healing and counsel to all members of the tribe. The Wise Women also have another profound purpose to the Ashlanders. Remember, these tribes harbour great reverence for the ancient Velothi customs of the Kaima, and the curse upon their race, transforming them into the Dunmer, has not affected that reverence in the slightest. This means they still staunchly worship their ancestors, and for this to be done effectively, they must have competent historians who can retain all of their tribe's oral traditions, so that they can be passed down from generation to generation. The Wise Women also interpret dreams as prophecies, one of these prophecies being the Nerevar would return in the form of an Outlander. All of these things fall under the jurisdiction of the Wise Women. The passing of a Wise Woman is arguably considered more of a loss than even an Ashcan, as it symbolises the loss of valuable knowledge. It is thanks to the Wise Women that we have so many collections of Ashlander poetry, memorised by the Wise Women and passed to travelling chroniclers. These chroniclers were likely what the Ashlander tribes would call clan friends. Clan friend is the lowest rank among Ashlanders, but it is nevertheless a rank, signifying that the individual has been accepted by the tribe. If you see a foreign man or mer associating with the notoriously xenophobic Ashlanders, you can safely assume they have proven themselves to be a clan friend. In the defence of the Ashlanders though, while they are hesitant to trust Outlanders, and are quick to avoid them, it is considered dishonourable to kill unarmed strangers, unless they are provoked or offended by said stranger. Ashlanders do not take kindly to criminals who violate their sacred way of life. The culprit will be cast out, and without the order of the clan, they tend to resort to banditry. What exactly an Ashlander considers to be an insult versus what they consider to be honourable is incredibly hard to distinguish at times, especially to foreigners. Outlanders are at great risk of provoking the ire of a clan simply by speaking the wrong words. Ashlanders often make challenges. Challenges for sport can be declined without shame, but not challenges for honour. Honour challenges come from perceived offences, or arise from customary formal challenges of status or ritual. Ashlanders may challenge a stranger who enters a tent without invitation. Customs differ with different tribes, but polite visitors who leave when requested may be forgiven. In contrast to that intimidating custom, gift giving is particularly important in their culture. Among Ashlanders, a gift is a token of courtesy among strangers, and affection among friends. A thoughtful gift signals the giver is cautious, considerate, and aware of the receiver's wants and needs. So, if you're wandering the inhospitable regions of Morrowind and encounter an Ashlander, you may be challenged to fight to the death, or you may just receive a kind gift. With all this in mind, you could quite rightly assume that the Ashlanders are just another tribal society, not unlike all the other tribal societies across Tamriel. Studious scholars could quite easily brush off the assertions of the Wise Women and label them savage charlatans. Who would stop them? Scholars have an education and a wealth of knowledge stored in the libraries and archives of the major cities. The Wise Women, on the other hand, they have chants and incantations, herbal remedies and snake oils. However, during the tumultuous times of the Tribunal, the Ashlanders were proven to be far more intelligent than civilized folk may have given them credit for. When Vivek, Almalexia and Sophasil achieved apotheosis, becoming the tribunal of living demigods, the impressionable great houses were quick to fall for their tricks. The Ashlanders, however, they have a nifty combination of spiritual resolve and an aversion to following the whims and trends of the Great House culture. The Ashlanders continued to worship the anticipations, rather than the false idols. They held true to Boethia, to Azura and to Mephala, as well as to their own ancestors. The Ashlanders staunchly believe that the Tribunal betrayed Indril Nerevar, murdering him for coming between them and the power of Lorkhan's heart. Rather than buying the lies of the Tribunal, the Wise Women of the Ashlander tribes listened to their dreams and visions, determining the will of their gods through mysticism, not the words of some divine impostors. This major difference in religious beliefs between the Great Dunmer population and the Ashlanders brought about what is known as the Nerevarine cult. When Nerevar was killed and the Tribunal rose to prominence, many Ashlanders began preaching of a vision, a prophecy from Azura. She promised that Nerevar would return and drive Outlanders from Morrowind. This was the highest heresy to the Tribunal Temple, and blasphemers who associated with the newly established Nerevarine cult were threatened with death or imprisonment. Worshipping the anticipations was tolerable, but attempts to delegitimize the Tribunal would not go unpunished. The Empire aligned with the Tribunal Temple on this matter, as driving Outlanders from the province was a direct threat to the Imperials. The Ordinators were soon granted complete authority to suppress the cult by any means. As a result, the Nerevarine cult was forced underground even among Ashlanders, and its true size was difficult to gauge. Despite such great hardship, with what seemed like the entire weight of Morrowind and the Empire against them, the Ashlanders did not falter in their beliefs, and when the time came and the Nerevarine prophecy was realised, the Tribunal fell from grace. Typically, when it was safe to do so, many of the Dunmer denounced the Tribunal, and led by the dissident priests, the new temple, devoted to the Reclamations, became the new recognised religion of Morrowind. The Reclamations being the updated name given to Boethia, Azura and Mephala once they reclaimed their status from the Tribunal. To the Ashlanders though, there was nothing to reclaim, for their veneration of the good Daedra never wavered. From then on, the Ashlander reputation went from oppressed heretical heathens to the guardians of the true way, where once ordinators and lawmen sought out the clans to hunt apostates, now pilgrims venture across the merciless terrains of Morrowind to seek out the guidance of the wise women. And there you have it guys, the Ashlander clans of Morrowind. I hope you enjoyed the video, thanks so much for watching, I've been Drew, and I will see you next time.